Welcome, everybody, to The InEVitable from MotorTrend. This is the podcast on the future of mobility. As Jonny likes to say, the future of the car. We're going to be talking about EVs. We're going to talk about electrified vehicles, autonomous, connected cars, everything under the sun. Today's episode, we want to focus on the future of tuning, the future of car culture and car community. We have a great guest joining us here in a little bit. My co-host, Jonny Lieberman, is very excited to talk to this guy. He's also very excited about the EV space in general and the future of mobility. How excited are you, Jonny?
Very.
Okay.
Very excited. Always. Anything with four wheels I really like a lot.
Great. This is what
we should talk about the guest, though. Who's this wonderful guest
we'll
we
get
have?
there. Okay. Well, all right. Our guest today is Sung Kang.
Yes.
You might know him from the Fast and the Furious franchise. He debuted in Fast and the Furious 3, Tokyo Drift as Han Lu. I know him from...
But that was a character that came from another movie.
Which
is crazy.
Another movie that is near and dear to my heart. It's Better Luck Tomorrow. This is sort of a pioneering film in Asian American cinema. It came out in, 2002?
Yeah, something like that.
We're going to talk to him about that, his origin story, his... connection with cars, with car culture, a lot of the stuff that he's done in and around the Fast and Furious movies. Should be a great conversation. But to set it up, I did want to sort of pick your brain a little bit, Jonny. This is not something I know you are necessarily as close to as maybe say I am. I came from the aftermarket. I've done a lot of stuff in the tuner space. But the idea that as we look at electrification, as you know, Tesla's been sort of first mover, early adopter, but a ton of other electric vehicles, et cetera, are coming online. What does this mean for the future of fixing these cars up, lowering them, making them faster?
Yeah.
Motor swaps, because they're not engines, right? They're motors. Where is this all going? There's a lot of I think hand-wringing amongst traditional car enthusiasts.
They always wring their hands, though. I mean, look, when they took sperm whale oil out of automatic transmissions in the mid-'60s, those same guys were wringing their hands. The traditionalists will always wring their hands. So I don't even concern yourselves with them. No, great question. And the only electric tuning I've seen is Randy Popes drove that Pikes Peak car, Unplugged Performance, had a Plaid. And it was interesting because, they changed the suspension, they changed the brakes, they've radically changed the aero. They can't really touch the computer. In fact, when they wanted to make changes like turn stability all the way off, they had like a mole at Tesla. I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but like they're texting him like after hours, like, please disable this one feature, please,
Right.
So that is going to be interesting because, you can tires, brakes, aero, you can do a lot of things to a car, but, traditional hot rodding was motors, right? I mean, it's where you really started was like, let's hop this thing up, let's hot rod it.
Right.
And that, I don't know. Like, how do you,
I mean, there is a lot of stuff going on. Like we've seen obviously Rich Rebuilds, the YouTuber, doing a ton of stuff with, famously with Tesla vehicles and including going the other way. He just recently put I think it's a small block V8 into a Tesla Model S.
I saw that.
Which is a Frankenstein of that nobody considered.
Yeah, I mean, I saw there was guys put a radial engine into a Prius, which I thought was pretty funny.
Right. So this stuff goes on. I guess we should back up a little bit. You even though you have a kid, for some reason are able to go to like all sorts of car meets, cars and coffee events. You do Fridays.
Yeah, so the Good Vibes Breakfast Club, which has really got me through the pandemic, like with my sanity intact.
How many folks out there do you see with EVs?
Oh, maybe one a month. So I go about 4 times a month.
Literally one a month?
Yeah.
How many cars per Friday would you say show
up? Between 100 and last week was like 300. It was crazy. Sean Lee did the toy drive.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so for the Purist group. It was crazy. But no, if an EV does show up, it's like me bringing a Taycan up or something like that, or a Taycan. Like maybe a Model 3 once in a while.
Tesla guys, really? That's just a model. Not you haven't seen a Plaid out there or anything?
No, not yet. Haven't seen a Plaid out there. And the other thing is, as you know, Tesla famously eliminated their PR department, so no journalist shows up with it. Like that's like a couple of the local guys like Bossum or Bradley Iger. They'll bring up their cars that they have that week, and I always bring up something, and can't get Teslas. I mean, it's a nightmare, as you know. It's just there's no quick way to do it. Unlike every other manufacturer, it's like you call them like, "Hey, can I have a car for the week?" And sure.
Also confirms the theory that, and I will get pilloried for this, but just like Tesla is a non-traditional car brand, perhaps their owners are non-traditional enthusiasts.
Totally.
And they're not showing up at sort of these get-togethers.
Or they're bringing their Porsche. It's the other thing. They're bringing their 911. Because, a lot of Tesla owners, they get the Tesla for the carpool lane and the daily commute, and they're really passionate about their 911.
Right. So, I wonder whether that is a sign of things to come. If, the dark future of this move, not just through electric vehicles, but to like autonomous, is that do the masses stop caring about cars and just see them as basic transportation, and there's none of this passion or love around them? They're just, especially if they end up being like vehicles that, because they drive themselves, they end up working for you. You can send it out at night to go be an autonomous Lyft or Uber, and then it further removes you from this thing that you love and you polish with baby diapers.
I mean, that's what this podcast is really about, I think. But I will say this, like as Reggie Watts was telling us when he was on. Remember, he said that he liked the Tesla, but he felt it was very digital and was right. Like a glorified golf cart, whereas the Taycan he felt was like a driver's car.
It was a Porsche first.
And again, the EVs that do show up at these things I go to, and they tend to be the Taycan. However, I also go to that Malibu Cars and Coffee on Sundays, which is now legal again. But Leno shows up in his Plaid quite a bit, actually.
Interesting.
And he is just all in on the Plaid.
Oh, yeah.
He
and Malibu
loves the Plaid.
Malibu is Tesla, Prius, hybrid,
and
country,
Porsche, and
like,
Porsche country.
Yeah, well, just in general. Like,
I
mean,
sure.
the people who are mad that you're there.
Look, Los Angeles is this weird bubble. Like, I see more when I take my kid to daycare. I see more Teslas. It freaks me out. When I see he goes in La Cañada, which is a very kind of wealthy, strange area. But I'll see 2 Model 3s, a Model X, and then 2 Lexus GXs. That seems to be what people are into. It's like either EVs or like the anti-EV.
Right.
It's very, very strange. But yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think people are, especially as the designs improve. Like I keep looking at those new Hyundai and Kia EVs that are coming.
Ioniq 5, Hyundai Ioniq 5, and Kia EV6.
Dude, the Ioniq 5. I mean, I have to get a new car, and like even my wife, who's like hates SUVs, was like, "Is that an SUV?" I'm like, "No, it's kind of a wagon. It's a fat wagon."
Right.
She's like, "It kind of looks cool." I'm like, "It's fantastic."
It's surprisingly, it looks really compact. And
it's huge.
And it's actually quite large. And it is very cool. It's got I was talking to Sang-Yup Lee, the head of design at Hyundai Motor Group. He designs everything from the passenger cars to the buses to the robots.
Former Bentley guy.
Former designer of the Gen 6 Camaro.
That's right.
Yes.
Which was good looking before GM mangled it.
Great guy. Yeah. And the vibe from that car and the 7 concept they showed at the LA Auto Show, the same. And it is like this embracing of like cyberpunk, 80s Blade Runner sort of. They brought back I think it was pixel lights in the back, so like fat bits. Yeah. Like, and we were just commenting how they had it on
8-bit,
they had this big, like massive LCD or whatever digital display screen that they displayed the car on, and it's like, I was telling him, like, Sang-Yup, you've been designing vehicles for a long time, and through VGA monitors, right, and then to TFT, to like these beautiful like OLED screens, like everything got to this point where the pixels are disappearing, and then you brought them back in fat bits on the lights,
right.
Like, and he's like, oh yeah, it's like this is this aesthetic we're going for around like cyberpunk, and he didn't say that was me, but he's like, no, it's like this will be sort of the brand feature for the Hyundai's Ioniq series of vehicles, which I thought was again, retro futurism, embracing this aesthetic around the future of automotive is sort of fascinating.
Yeah, and I think if you had a car like that, like it's hard not to be excited by that car. I mean, to me, I get like, it's like Giugiaro design at its peak, like which was like, early to mid 80s, late 70s even. And, it's just such a cool looking car. And Tesla's just so weird because like people weren't necessarily buying Teslas because they love cars. They were caught up with like, this is the new Steve Jobs. This is the new thing. I met people that are like, look how big the screen is. I love iPads. Right. I want a car with a giant iPad.
The tech,
and they were
tech
first
story.
out the door.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting. And as we know, like, everything will be EV by I think 2036 is the year we sort of.
Yeah, 15 years we're thinking about that. And I say electrified. Like, let's be clear. Like, it's not everything will be electric. Like, there's multiple sides to this.
Sure.
But there's a lot of people that say gas is going to be here for a long time. It's just the way we use it is going to be very specific.
Right, and it could be the thing where gas survives in like Italian V12s, but like and I made this point one time, but like somebody was like, I don't want electric cars. I'm like, do you really care if your Corolla goes electric? Like, are you really going to lose sleep over that? Like, Why not have that pollute less? And by the way, be 3 times as powerful,
right? And
have every other wonderful benefit you get from EVs. But like, yes, these musical instruments that have 4 wheels and 2 doors that come from the land of Italy, sure, let them be gas. And as I think you know this, Italy they're fighting with the EU, but they want to have a thing where like certain manufacturers, Ferrari, Lamborghini, and Pagani, can keep making V12s and bypass all the EV only laws. And again, if you think about globally, like Ferrari makes 10,000 vehicles a year, Lamborghini makes 7,000, Pagani makes 25.
They should
40.
apply. They should come up with that. Man, I should patent this idea. They should. It's already out there. They should come up with that thing they do for like olive oil and cheese and wine, where it's.
Well, that's what it is, right?
Yes. Yeah. This is a specialty of the region.
Yes, and they all come from Modena. It is. It's I forget the word. Yeah, it's like it's not terroir, but a wine region.
Right.
That's basically what they're doing. And again, so if you think about globally, you're talking about less than 20,000 vehicles. Mm-hmm. And by the way, out of those, how many have a V12? Like very few. So out of Ferrari's 10,000, probably 2,000 have a V12. Lambo's probably 1,500 have a V12. Pagani literally is like 25 to 40 vehicles a year. Like globally, if we have 5,000 new cars with V12s, like is it really hurting the planet in a way that it'll prevent humanity from existing?
Well, they should
probably not.
They should just have to pay a massive tax for that.
Oh, they already are.
Right. Just like the London sort of congestion charge. Go the other way. If you have one of these things, you need to.
Right. But hey, back to 36 for a second. I was thinking about it, with Sung coming in. So when Fast and the Furious Part 36 comes out in the year 2036,
right?
What are and this goes back to what you're talking about tuning. Like, what are the cars going to look like, or could you even do a Fast and the Furious? Because how they always have like Chargers, like Dodge, like here. Could you?
Or now crazy cars. They built like the one that flipped other cars over, like shaped like a wedge. Like they have everything under the sun, but I don't think they have had any kind of electric vehicle or hybrid supercar. Or
but what I'm saying is, when Dodge goes to do the product placement,
yes,
for Part 11, even Part 10, with Dodge's new EV muscle car coming,
right?
Are they sneaking that in, or is it like, are EVs could you ever could the Fast and Furious embrace an EV?
I think so. I think it's inevitable. Yes, I make everybody so sick of this name by the end of this podcast. But no, I do think we'll get there. We'll have to have we just covered a lot of ground. There are a lot of EVs that are coming out. They're all very interesting for different reasons. We talked about how the Hyundais are really interesting from the design perspective. I certainly think that's going to drive people to not only embrace them, but also tune them, lower them, put cool wheels on them, take them to the latest Radwood whatever show. Do the whole thing, just like you would a hot hatch or another new car or something that.
And on the same token, I think you got to imagine with Tim Kuniskis running Dodge, like when that Dodge EV shows up, we're talking like 1,200 horsepower or more. I mean, it's going to be insane, right? It's going to be literally an insane, like the Hellcat version of it.
Yeah.
So I think people will super embrace that.
I guess the
Right?
question, yes, I agree. I just you kind of said it at the top. The question is, what can they do? What can they do when you have to have a degree in computer science to tune the thing, when it's all ones and zeros, when honestly, there's a big safety thing that goes into tuning these vehicles.
Well,
Don't cut the orange wire.
Yeah, well, don't. Yeah, well, there's definitely that. But it's also like don't smoke around your empty gas tank. Like,
sure,
hot rodders learn that. But there's that. But also like physically, mechanically, if you're gonna like radically increase the torque past where it is, like you cannot have that standard transmission. You have to. So how do you, what is swapping out the 1-speed EV transmission like? That'll have to be an aftermarket company that makes a beefier part.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, conveniently, we happen to know a little bit about this because our older brother, Hot Rod, those guys have launched or relaunched Project X. So if you know anything about Project X, this is a 1957 Chevy.
It's a Bel Air coupe.
No, it actually was the 210 sedan turned into a coupe.
Oh. I know nothing about Project X.
Yes.
It gets a new engine all the time.
Yes. It was it was purchased, I think, in 1965. I'm going to totally butcher this. Yeah. 1965, I think in Santa Monica for like $250. It's gotten some upwards of 20, 25 different engine swaps. And for SEMA this past year, we put a electric powertrain in it.
And everybody loved it. Like,
it was amazing.
By the hot rod community.
Wait a second. We were lit on fire, mostly on social media about it.
Right.
I should probably not disclose that it was mostly my idea. So I let the hot rod guys know they could run my picture in the magazine. And I could dox myself.
Wow.
But honestly, it debuted at SEMA and. On the ground, I think the maybe people were just being polite, but the response in person was really good. It was a lot better than the keyboard warriors online on YouTube.
Look, that's part of the sick online culture that's developed is to to do that
light stuff you don't understand on
cool.
fire.
Yeah,
right?
But I mean, again, I saw this when we did the Rivian, on the Transamerica Trail. You talk to people and they're a little curious, and then you say, yeah, it makes 835 horsepower, 900 pound-feet of torque, and you see them like. What?
Yeah.
And it's like, I love horsepower.
Right.
Can
I jack it up and put 24-inch wheels on it and truck nuts?
Yeah. Truck nuts would be actually really weird on a Rivian, but again, like it's just again. The horsepower and the torque is what people know they love, and they don't really care necessarily how they get it. And so, yeah, I mean, what was the power output of Project X?
Initially, 330 horsepower and 340 torque.
Okay, well,
it's on the low end, but this is part of the the ramp up. There's a lot of plans to
Project XX.
Yes, exactly to iterate on it, but it does not have a traditional direct drive single speed transmission. They actually have a drag transmission. You can change out the gearing in the rear end, and apparently it does wheel stance.
Yeah.
So already,
with that little power,
and
wow,
it might
crazy.
already be the quickest Project X has gone. They did some testing right before the PRI show, and I should say, Hot Rod didn't do this by themselves.
Sure.
Victor Cagnazzi Racing, a longtime NHRA Chevy Camaro drag racer out of North Carolina, helped pull it together, and then General Motors. Graciously sent over the motors, the battery packs, and a bunch of their engineers to help put this all together.
Was it related to the electric Camaro dragster?
Not really. That's done by a different outside shop helped Chevy with that.
Yeah, that was like a high school shop teacher.
Yes, out in Washington.
Yeah.
This is actually honestly a bigger thing that Chevy's trying to do for the tuning community. They want to build out e-crates, electric vehicle crate motors, just like they have a substantial number of small block Chevy offerings. Ford's doing the same thing with the Illuminator. There is a market theoretically for this, but they're trying to get to this plug and play. Like just you can get this thing from Ford or Chevy. It comes with a warranty. We'll give you some basic tips on how to install it, and then you can put it in kind of anything you want. Right now, all that guys are doing, as you'd expect, is finding wrecked or junked Teslas,
sure,
yanking battery packs out, yanking motors, and then trying to sort of jerry-rig their own.
Right, Frankenstein up, whatever.
Yep.
But it is cool to watch people's minds changing in real time. Like it's one of those things like, oh man, I never want an EV, and then when they start experiencing them, and there's so many cool benefits. Like another one that I got to witness was Jethro and I did a thing at the whatever it's called now, the Phoenix drag strip. Used to be Firebird Racing,
right,
and I think it's just now Phoenix Raceway or something. But we brought a Hellcat Red Eye and a Ferrari, a 812 Superfast. But when we were there, well, actually, side tangent for a second. No one even saw the Ferrari. It's a bright yellow, $500,000 Ferrari. No one even cared.
Right.
And then my first run, I popped off like a 10.89. Suddenly, everyone came over. They're like, "Whoa, what's in that thing?" I'm like, 6.5 liter V12. And there's like, how much power? I'm like, 789 horsepower. Like, oh my God. But there was that blue electric Camaro was there, and everyone was just turning their noses up at it. Nobody cared. First run pops off like a 10.8, and everyone's like, wait, and it did a wheelie.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just like,
put on the cover.
What? Yeah. They're like, what? And it was rad to watch people, they're not their worldview, but a little piece of their worldview crumbling.
Yep.
And these are the people that are going to be the hardest haters of all.
Well, this is funny you mentioned that because your buddy, our buddy, Al Oppenheiser, who was he was a former head of Chevy Performance.
And then he was the father of the Camaro.
Then, he was the chief engineer on the Gen 6 Camaro.
Gen 5. Yeah,
Gen 5 and Gen 6 Camaro. Then became global head of rear drive for General Motors. Now he's the head of Hummer EV.
Yeah.
When we talked to him, he was like the first guy I called when we were thinking about taking this hot rod Project X and making it electric. Full credit to him and his team, Russell Blennis over at Chevy Performance. They loved the idea. They were on board immediately. They offered up their personal garages to house Project X. That's how much they loved the vehicle and they loved the idea. But we also talked about how when they launched the eCopo Camaro at SEMA, 2017 or something like that, they might have been booed off the stage.
Yeah.
Now they did say they didn't cadence it right because they announced two traditional small block Chevy, dragsters, and then and we got the eCopo, and it was like crickets, and then tomatoes started flying. But look.
But Al's a great example. This is a guy who literally listens to Iron Maiden, still, you know what I mean, like Van Halen.
Yes.
And I not that he was bummed, but we're friendly. And when he got the job of EV, he wasn't maybe the most thrilled I've ever seen a human. But before the Hummer was announced, I remember he sent me a cryptic note one night. He's like, "You will not believe the levels of torque I'm playing with." He's like, "You simply won't believe what I'm working on." And of course, I'm like, "What is it? What is it?" He's like, "You will not believe what we're doing." And so it's cool. And here's a real enthusiast, a guy used to hang out at the Nürburgring making Camaros go faster than Porsches is now doing EVs.
Yeah, we're talking about tuning in the future. That's the guy who's actually on the cutting edge of doing it for a giant corporation. As well. We got to get him on. If his corporate handlers would allow him, he would be great to just sort of pick his brain about where this is all going.
He'll come.
Because it's inevitable. Just like the arrival of our guest, Mr. Sung Kang, who we will talk to next about the future of community, the future of tuning, his origin story, his love of vehicles, when it started, why it started, how it started. That's next.
Sung, good to see you. We're sitting here. I just want to again do a little icebreaker comment question. I was watching Red Notice last night, and Gal Gadot, you made out with her. Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's it. That's all I got. But I was like, jeez.
Yeah, she's super cool.
Yes.
Cool.
Sung Kang, hero to every Asian man on planet Earth.
And Jewish man. I mean, she is Israeli.
That's right.
She's queen.
Yes.
Yeah. She was Miss Israel, wasn't she?
I don't know, but man, if you haven't seen that Red Notice, she looks all right.
She's Well, she was. I remember watching. I think that was Fast Five.
5?
Yeah.
5.
And I was like, who is that?
Yeah.
And then she was Wonder Woman. Next thing you know. Yeah. So, anyways,
yes,
great way to start it.
I mean, I was like sitting there last night. I knew this was coming, and I was looking at her, and I'm like,
I went
to that guy.
I went the other way. I did some deep research on Sung, and I went back and I rewatched Better Luck Tomorrow, which was
deep cut.
Yeah, until this morning, I thought was like your first. Well, it wasn't your first role, but would you? Is it fair to say it was your first breakout role? Because that's the one that got the Sundance pickup, and then Justin Lin, and then that I think got you. That connection got you into Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. Is that a fair characterization? Yeah.
Well, Better Luck Tomorrow was the first film in my career at that time that gave me hope or put wind behind my sails to go, oh, there's a chance to actually participate in this Hollywood dream.
Okay.
Before that, it was just, you go out for a bit part here and you get a co-star one-liner and you call your mom and you go, hey, I'm on NYPD Blue.
Yes.
And I just deliver a file and you go, here you go, boss, and then you're out. That was it.
Right.
Or you go to the, stereotypical roles. You're going to be a waiter or, some kind of Yakuza gangster guy.
Right.
There weren't really any opportunities. I didn't come to Hollywood to, be a background player. I wanted to get on the plate, man, and, swing for the fences. And at that time, I was like looking out there and going, yeah, I don't think it's possible, man. It's like, I don't do martial arts on purpose because we already have those guys. We have the Bruce Lees and Jackie Chans, the icons that I think broke a certain stereotype, but then also created a new one, right? Especially in cinema, right?
Right. If you're an Asian actor, Crouching Tiger, you know how to fight. Everyone in the movie for some reason can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then if you put me in a leading man category, where does that exist in Hollywood? It doesn't. You're not going to cast, a guy that looks like me as Thor or, a leading, like James Bond character. Just I think it's moving in the right direction now.
Right.
But
I gotta say, the opener you mentioned the whole Gal Gadot thing. That's why it is so amazing. Like there's a meme or a trope or this idea that you never see the Asian male make out with any kind of female lead on screen. That never happened. That never happened with Bruce Lee or any of his TV shows or movies. He was always like the sidekick or the whatever, and that's why I was like, again, hero to.
I mean, again, I can't comment on that. I can't comment. I'm just watching Red Notice, like, jeez.
Well, I mean, it's funny that you have to make almost a social commentary on the fact that Asian guy makes out with a hot girl,
right?
It's weird that we have to justify that. You go, that's okay to do that, right?
Yeah.
But I wonder if that would have happened if the director wasn't Asian American.
Probably not.
Right.
I mean, who knows, but probably not.
Yeah. If one of the producers didn't have an Asian wife with, interracial kids. I wonder. So there's things that I think, pieces on the chess table that kind of move that to make that happen to – because I hear that all the time from dudes. They're like, "Hey, man, thanks a lot, dude, because you gave me, you got me a prom date, dude." You know what I mean? Like, you made me human, man. You made me sexy.
You made me seen. I feel seen.
Yeah,
now.
That's important.
Hey,
though,
I appreciate.
Right? I mean, that's huge.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, now if you look around Hollywood, not necessarily straight Korean, but like the Ten Rings, a new Marvel movie,
Shang-Chi,
Shang-Chi, sorry, the Legend of the Ten Rings was phenomenal and mostly Asian cast. I mean, I think Ben Kingsley was the only kind of the Hungarian guy. And then Parasite, going to Korean cinema, and Squid Game, global phenomenon, both of them. Yeah. So you must feel like you played a little part in some of that, breaking down some walls.
I don't know about that. I think it's streaming. You have to give that Gorilla in the Room the credit because they allowed to bridge the gap globally in terms of our faces or Korean faces converting over here, and just allowing that ability to be seen conveniently, not having to go to a film festival or have to go to the IFC channel or Sundance channel. It's just there now, right?
Yeah, mainstream.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, again, that Disney, Marvel film. Was that's Marvel at their best. I mean, that's an amazing film, and that probably wouldn't have got made with the same budget and same, intensity of purpose like a decade ago. Just probably wouldn't. It would have just been like a martial arts movie. They would have toned down the humor. Right. It wouldn't have just been the full Marvel experience.
I had a white guy play the lead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, they did that. Iron Fist. They did that. Yeah.
So wait. Well, let's back up because we're covering ground really quickly. So for those who don't know, Better Luck Tomorrow was this sort of breakthrough Asian American film Sung was in the movie, played a lead role. Justin Lin as the director. He ended up being on Fast and Furious for the third installment, Tokyo Drift. You just mentioned this, and I have to bring it up because, yes, I was looking at your TV record, and you did a bunch of cop dramas. You did NYPD Blue, some bit parts. But you also did martial law, which is hilarious to me. For those who don't know martial law, that was Sammo Hung. This is like an icon of Hong Kong cinema. Chubby. He's known as like the fat guy who could like
from Bloodsport.
Yes,
yeah, he wasn't fat. It was all chest, all pecs.
Wow. No. That's a different guy.
That's Sammo.
This
is
Sammo Hung. This is a Hong Kong. Yeah.
Peking opera with Jackie Chan era.
Exactly.
Sorry.
You're talking about
that guy.
Sorry.
My hero.
Yes, your hero.
Sorry.
No, Sammo was like worked with all the top guys in Hong Kong cinema, and I just had to ask. Like, I mean, that's more than 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. What was that like?
You want to hear the story of how I got that job?
Yeah.
So I was working at a restaurant in Beverly Hills.
The actor's dream. Yeah.
Yeah. Worst employee. Like I was waiter, busboy, dishwasher, bartender. And the owner basically fired me every day, man. Like I was the worst waiter, and I would like hide in the bathroom and there was pre-cell phone, so I'd be on the phone, like trying to call my agents, like, give me a job, get me out of here, man. And I would just be in front of the TV with the bartender just like yapping away, like the worst. And then I was taking a pee, and next to me in the urinal, there's this Asian dude, right? And he goes, hey, taking a pee, right? And he happened to be the producer of Martial Law, right? And he goes, hey, so are you an actor? And I go, trying to be. And he goes, yeah, my girlfriend says that I should cast you because she likes like the way you look. You should be an actor. And it's like, good that you're an actor. I go, yeah, I'm trying, man. And he goes, do you know a show called Martial Law? And I go, yeah, I heard of it. And he goes, well, I'm the producer. He goes, do you want to come on the show? And I was like, what? I'm still peeing, dude. And then,
wow, long
and then he goes, yeah, so if you have a headshot or something. So I went to my car, and then I dropped off the headshot. And the next day, I get a call from the casting director, and he's like, hey, so you have an audition, but you just have to read we got to see if you can act. So I went in there and said a few lines, and then I'm like, what part am I playing? And then I finally get the script, and I'm actually Sammo's son. Right? And it has hella martial arts in it, man. Crazy. I'm like reading this going, you're out of your mind. And I told them, I said, hey man, I don't know any martial arts. Like I'm athletic, but I don't know how to do all that.
I don't kick flips.
I do not know how to do that. So don't waste your time. And then I meet Sammo, super cool dude. Right, like I was like a little nervous, and then and he happened to, I think, be married to like a Korean woman at the time, and he loved Korean food. And he goes,
Who doesn't?
He asked me if I knew martial arts. I said I did not. So he invited me over his house, and we rehearsed for a couple of days. Like he approached it like dancing because he, as a kid, he actually worked in the Peking Opera as like I think, as a little boy, like where they send orphans and stuff, right? And so he really approached it like a mentor, and it was the first like true movie star, like international like global movie star that I guess I can use that word like was a mentor, man. Like he knew he could have jacked me up and basically threw me into the den and made me look like a fool, right? But he fed me. He sent me home with a whole bunch of like Hong Kong hot sauce and right.
This is the best.
Yeah, right. Like bao and stuff. And we're rehearsing in his kitchen with his Hong Kong crew while we're eating, and he's smoking, and his family's coming in, and it was just like it was a very modest home, right? And then we go in the backyard, and and he's just so engaged because as long as he looked at me, and like an actor knows another actor. Like I know when actors, you're a celebrity, you're not an actor, and I'm an actor, man. I come to play. Like you put your heart on the table, I'm gonna match you, and he loves that, right? So if he plays, if he's rolling around, I'm gonna try, and so he appreciated that, and then he goes, yeah, so you're gonna play my long lost son that comes back for revenge, and we're gonna have the epic duel out between father and son. And if you go back to that episode, I think I had like 3 stunt doubles for every angle. For like the kick, for the top, and if you look, there's like certain scenes where I kind of look like I have a receding hairline because it's my other stunt double that takes the fall. It's like he was like my size, right? But it was dream come true. Arsenio was on the show.
Oh my God!
And I remember he came up to me and he goes, "Hey man, I'm leaving the show, dude." And he goes, "Come here." And he called the makeup lady and he goes, "Hey, you have a Polaroid?" And back then it was Polaroid time, right? Pre-cell phone.
Yeah.
And he takes the Polaroid and he does this and he gives it to me. He goes, "Good luck, kid, because I'm out of here." And I thought I was going to take over Arsenio's part, like to be the son in the show with father and son. That was like this whole kind of idea, right? And then we got canceled. The 2 episodes we got canceled. But that was like first time I actually got paid. Like I got paid, I think probably like $6,000 or something like that. And then I bought a TV.
Right.
First new, it was like the big one, like first stupid thing. I go, I gotta watch myself. That's a big projection TV.
Oh yeah,
gigantic one.
Yeah. 8,000 pounds.
That's awesome.
Well, can we jump ahead to Tokyo Drift because I think I saw Better Luck Tomorrow. But I think I was much more into Fast and Furious stuff. So like filming that, did you have any idea, any notion that like Fast and Furious would become the whatever it is now? I mean, the worldwide, global, gazillion-dollar
juggernaut.
Who knows? Lifestyle movie. Like, did you have any inkling, or was it like I'm doing a sequel?
Had no idea. I mean, that movie came basically, while I was washing dishes at my wife's restaurant. Like, we had a restaurant in Brentwood. Yeah. And it was, it was hard, man. It was like, people didn't show up to work, and it was just she and I just trying to like make a living while I was pursuing this dream. And it was like 2005, probably, right around there.
Yep.
We shot it. Yeah, it came out in 6, right? So, I remember, I was washing dishes, and then I get a call, and Justin's like, "Hey, I'm directing this movie, Tokyo Drift. You gotta, got to meet the casting director. There's no part for you." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "So just go and read for the lead, like Lucas Black character, because big casting directors, because there's no real part. There's only like a bad guy, DK." And he goes, "You don't really fit that, and I think it has to be Japanese." And I was like, "That's cool." And so I went in and read for the main part, and it was like fun because I had nothing to lose because I wasn't gonna get the part anyway. Right. And,
right. Yeah.
And then in the film, Twinkie, that's played by Bow Wow. Twinkie means yellow on the outside, white on the inside.
Like a banana.
Yeah.
Too.
So that was actually designed for Virgil's character from Better Luck Tomorrow.
Okay. My
cousin that I actually beat down, and he's actually in Fast and Furious as Earl. He's in 9. Like, he's in the background as one of my crew guys. But he was originally Twinkie. But the studio was like, "Hey, we really want to put Bow Wow in this character because, he's hot. He's, he's a little Bow Wow at that time. You know, it's a big deal." And then there was a character, I think, in the Tuner Bale scene called Phoenix. And he was African-American. He was scripted as African-American. They're like, "Well, we have Bow Wow. I don't think we need another dude there, like tossing the keys." And that was the seed for Han. Right. So when they were casting that, they're like, "Well, what ethnicity do we put in that?" We go, "Is it going to be African American? Hispanic? Latino? Or what is it? It's going to be Caucasian?" And then, Justin was like, "Why can't it just be Asian American, like nondescript, like expat, doesn't have to say." It's like, and it's like, cool dude, like it was described, Phoenix, cool dude, brooding, like leaning against car, tosses the lead, keys to his, skyline, Mona Lisa, and so that conversation happened because Justin was in the room with, Jeff Kirschenbaum, this producer that also was a champion of Better Luck Tomorrow, who's married to, Chinese American, has interracial daughters. So he was aware at that time, like we need this diversity. And the question I think was brought up, like Justin shared with me. He was like, the question was like, well, how do we make him cool? This Asian guy, how do we make him cool? Like, is he doing martial arts? Like, what's he doing? It's like he's just doing what he does. And it's like, what is that? So they showed him Better Luck Tomorrow, and then Han, the character that I play in Better Luck Tomorrow, why is he cool? It makes no sense because he's smoking or he's just.
Right.
It's because why is anybody cool?
Right.
You know, it's a swagger you
Just
have.
is.
Confident.
Right.
It doesn't matter what
Right.
race you are, dude. You just got it, right? And it was like this new conversation put on the table that you don't have to have a superpower to be
Right.
cool.
And it's
Right?
interesting, just going back to what we were talking about, just listening to this, like, before Han, like, was there a mainstream Asian character in U.S. cinema that, like, didn't kick somebody in the face? Like, it was always kicking and punching, you know what I mean? Like, it's a pretty break, for Tokyo Drift, it's a
Yeah.
prety breakthrough role. And then, like, the staying power, like, how many times has Han died in the series?
Well, he's only died.
I mean, you know what I mean.
I mean, died.
He's only died
not
once.
Right.
But the staying
and he didn't
power,
really die.
Right. But I mean,
Well, it wasn't staying power. It was the world change,
Right.
guys. It's
Right.
like these test studies that they do. These focus groups they do with these films. They do averages on like how characters. I mean, how audiences respond to certain characters, and
Yep.
and because I think just the world was becoming more global, and
Yep.
like it was okay for people to like root for the Asian character.
Right.
Right, and so
Right.
it was also the people, man. Like Fast is a people's movie.
Yeah.
How corny that sounds is that they demanded Han to come back, like,
Right,
all that
right.
stuff,
That's what I'm
right?
saying.
So-
Like that, like the staying power of
Yeah.
that character to me was, and I remember watching when he did come back, or you came back. This is an odd conversation, but it was like, yes, like cool, like I like that guy, and I don't necessarily know why, but it was just like that's a
Right.
cool character,
Yeah.
And I'm one of those 46-year-old adults who really loves all the Fast and Furiouses, so
Yeah.
I'm into it.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the first one blew my mind because not that I was like a huge part of like LA tuner culture, but I was aware of it. And I'm like, I love seeing, a movie where like people are in love with their cars. I just like, that's how I feel about my stuff.
Despite the inaccuracies.
It doesn't
Despite
even matter.
the many-
It's a movie. It's not a documentary. It's a movie. It's a movie.
So
it's super cool.
It is because I want to get to all the stuff that you're doing with cars, with car culture that Jonny mentioned. So let me just skip ahead too. That's the first movie, the first Fast you were involved with, and then you were brought back for. I think I have this. Every one after 3, 4, 5. You're killed off in Fast and Furious 6. There's some archival footage of you in 7. You're not in 8, and then you come back in 9, right? And that span, those years go from 2006 to now.
Yeah.
Wow.
And at some point, you got. Is it fair to
15
say at some point you got involved? You got involved in the car scene because you weren't. As far as I can, and please, this is where you can correct me. It doesn't seem like you were into car culture at the start of your involvement with the Fast franchise. You weren't.
It's funny is that people don't know this is that the FD in Tokyo Drift. I actually
FD's a Mazda.
Oh yeah, the Mazda RX-7.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a '93 touring package.
Whoa.
Right. And it was a gift from my stepfather to stop acting. So it was a '93. So I got this car in '95.
Nice.
And I was taking the bus to go to work and
Right.
living with a bunch of dudes, trying to be an actor, man. And just trying to hustle, like to learn, right?
So this was a bribe to get you to.
Yeah, he showed up. He goes, "Hey, I bought you this car. It looks like a Jaguar. It's like kids like it today." And it had like I think 13,000 miles on it, and it was like perfect. It was red touring package with the Bose speaker in the back.
Yeah.
I was like, for a kid, I was like, oh, and those,
That's
and it was manual, and it had like factory metal, like pedals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
no,
never
it was
seen
super
that.
Dude,
Right? Remember that?
if you had that car now,
Oh, yeah.
that's worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like,
And it was
unmodified.
perfect.
Yeah.
But then I think I drove it to like 15,000. Couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford insurance. Even gas I couldn't afford. Dude, I was living off of like $20 and I had to eat at work, right? To like survive,
Wow.
right? And so I was like, I can't do that. So I parked it for years. And then when I did right before I did Better Luck Tomorrow, well, actually, when I did Better Luck Tomorrow, I still had that car, and Justin knew about it, right? And then I sold it to buy my house. I remember I put it on Auto Trader, My wife was like,
Auto
you got to
trader.
get rid of this. It's just like collecting dust. And
Right.
what are you going to do with it? It's like, you need to buy something. So we used that car, and I sold it for $15,000. I remember this dealer bought it like the next morning. Called me. He's like, that's mine. And then I used that to buy my first house, and that kept me going.
Right.
To be able to, like, you know, and then, you know, housing prices in LA, like, you get in that in 90, I think it was like, what, like 97?
Perfect time. So
Yeah,
after the riot,
right?
after the earthquake, that's a
Right.
good time to buy
Like,
houses.
perfect,
in LA.
right?
Yeah.
So, you know, so I actually had that car. Right. And it's funny, it's like serendipity that's Han's car, like with the Veilside kid.
Right.
Did you? Was there a lot of like family pressure for you not to act?
Oh yeah, you're supposed to be a lawyer, right?
Pressure. It's not pressure, it's just complete, like, you're nuts, man. It's like, you know, you having a kid's like, you know, somebody coming in, like my wife coming in and going, yeah, I'm going to join the NBA. It's the same conversation. You're like, good luck. It's like, well, where there's a will, there's a way.
Okay,
you know?
okay.
And then, you know, it's something that at the dinner table, you can't talk about that. Like, it makes no sense. It's so far away, man.
Right.
You know, it's...
Well, especially because, I mean, had there ever been a Korean American leading man?
Never.
Yeah. So, like, literally impossible.
And my mom, like, you know, she was, like, not supportive of me being an artist. She's like, you are the last one that's going to be an actor. You are not meant to be an actor. Look at your eyes.
Wow, that's crazy,
you know,
really.
They're not like Elvis Presley's eyes, like, really warm and welcoming.
She's
right?
wrong. Dude, you're a tall dude. You got a nose.
Yeah,
like,
but she did not. They did not. Nobody came from like arts in our family. No one drew. No one played an instrument. It was work. My mom was a housekeeper, man.
Oh,
so it was
no kidding.
pragmatic.
Wow.
It was about survival.
Right.
Like me coming in, going, "Hey, mom, I got like a dream to, be an actor."
And your mom was first generation or an immigrant? And you're first generation?
Yeah, total immigrant.
Okay, so the classic American immigrant story.
Yeah. And she gave, I had to be there to help, as a kid, to help her write a check at the,
Wow.
the checkout line.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
for her to go, hey, my son's gonna be in Hollywood, like, you're out of your mind.
So how does she react now? What's her?
She still doesn't understand it. She's so lost. She was. She lives in Korea now, right?
Okay.
So she's really happy there, and she's the cheapest human being in the world, by the way. She's like, she does not spend money on me or herself or anybody. I think she buries it somewhere in the mountain in North Korea, man. I swear, because I don't know where the money goes, right? Anyway, she teaches like jazzercise at the YWCA in the morning, so she doesn't have to pay for the membership. Right, and so
Ed's taking notes.
Right. So if you teach a class, free membership.
That's awesome.
Right,
Okay.
And
That's it. Yeah.
the senior citizen group jazzercise class got tickets to the new Cineplex, right? And they decided to watch the American movie that was playing, and it was fast. And I'm in it, and she's trying to tell her friends this is my son. And they're like, that's not your son. Like, how's that your son? Just randomly we pick a movie. All of a sudden, that guy's your son. Get out of here. So she takes everybody home, going through all of the albums. And she gets me on the phone. It's like, tell them you're my son. Tell them.
You're like, who is this? Who is this?
Yeah, remember when you could have supported me? Yeah.
Awesome.
Changing gears for a second. And we're doing this podcast, The InEVitable. It's about EVs and everything like that. I'm wondering, Fast and Furious obviously hasn't. I don't think there's been an electric vehicle really featured yet.
Yeah.
But assuming that this is my assumption, but the 10th one really isn't the final one. Like, if there was a Fast and Furious 2036, what are they driving? Is it I don't know, 6-second Teslas? Like what you know what I mean? Or how do you see EVs in this world that you've helped to create?
I don't know, man, because
what are you driving?
I don't know.
Now? Are you in a EV?
I'm in a hybrid. Today I brought my probably my most favorite car I've ever owned in my life. I have a 2022 Toyota Sienna LE.
Really?
18 cup holders. It's pretty sweet.
You and Ed, actually, I know you're Chinese, but you might be related.
He hates this.
The Sienna is the best car ever made for mankind.
Wow.
Like I drive this, so my wife was like,
"Was it April 1st?"
She thought I was buying the car for her, and I was like, "No, it's not for you. It's for me. Like this is something I've been waiting for my whole life to get." But I needed a reason, right? And I have like a lot of family. You know, I have a nephew living with us, like a high school kid. So, you know, he plays sports and stuff, and I go, "Oh yeah, we gotta have a minivan, man. If we're gonna get a minivan, we are gonna get a Sienna."
That's awesome.
I think there's something about a Sienna. It just, to me, when I meet another man that is proud of his Sienna, that's my kind of guy. Because it is.
Man, I knew
this isn't a setup.
This is not a setup.
Okay.
That man doesn't need to do that. If he's proud of the Sienna, and if he actually can't afford the Sienna, he could probably afford something else.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. Oh, I'm not saying that.
First of all, he does not care about anybody what someone else's opinion is.
100%.
Number two, I know what his priority is. What he is centric about in its family, right? And I go, that's a guy that I can bet on, right? Number three, yo man, he's really good with his money. Because I get 36 miles a gallon.
Oh my God.
36.
Wow.
We should have had him on the comparison test.
Well, we had another Korean guy. We had our friend Dr. Bobby. He's the head of pediatric surgery at Shriners Hospital. We did a minivan comparison.
And he hated it.
He hated the Sienna. Like me. We liked the Kia Carnival. We thought that was...
yeah, but that's because it has all the sugar toppings.
Yeah.
Let's get to the meat and to get to the meat.
I tried to tell him like that, because it's a little droney when you floor it, the way the motor generator comes up and makes that noise,
and those brakes. But
the brakes are helping recharge the battery.
The brakes,
but
the motor spinning backwards, recharging the battery.
You can't argue with the fuel economy in that thing.
It has
like everything
nice,
else.
It has very nice fuel
economy. The other three in the segment are like, you're lucky if you get into the 20s.
You're not getting in the 20s.
Yeah.
So
no, 36.
Yes.
And 18 cup holders. And it's the only...
I mean, you might be ruining your career right now.
I don't care, man. Like, I have
no
no affiliation with Toyota, by the way. Like, nothing. I've never spoken to him about this. Like, I went to the multiple dealers, to teach my nephew, first of all, how to buy a car. And I used the Sienna as an example.
Right.
So I went to multiple dealers and bought the Sienna with pride.
Yes.
You realize that what's horrible about this, I'm going to hear about this for the next decade.
Oh my God.
Ed's going to, every time I enter a room with him, he's going to be like, yeah, so Sung liked that Sienna.
Hey, Johnny, have you ever got a proper tour of a Sienna from a true Sienna lover?
Yes, I'm sitting next to him.
Really?
Yes.
You gave him the proper
We
tour?
tried. We drove all over Palos Verdes. Come on.
Have you driven it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, extensively.
We did a comparison test
extensively. No, we had it for Car of the Year. I think it was the first or second vehicle I cut.
Why would you not like that car?
I mean,
which model?
We need a longer podcast.
Did you drive the Platinum Edition?
We had the Platinum.
Oh, you had that?
But we had the Kia. I mean, the Kia was like,
Kia's pretty good too.
Come on.
Look, I'm a minivan fan, and
he
point
drove
of fact,
an Odyssey here, by the way.
In point of fact, a lot of MotorTrend staffers are huge minivan fans. We use them to death. We tear them up. They're super practical. Like, I love that you're not ashamed of it. In fact, you're the other way. You embrace it.
I'm proud of it.
You're embracing electrification because it is a hybrid.
I know about that. I'm just like super cheap. So as I got older, I'm like, yo, man, I was driving driving a G-Wagon around. I was like, yo, I can't do this. Like you look at the car and you go, man, screw you. Like, I'm not paying this kind of gas. Like, I'm at the gas station like once a week because I drive a lot.
You are stabbing him in the heart right now because he loves the G-Wagon.
What I'm going to say is,
I love the G-Wagon too.
We need to get you into a Lucid. We need to get you into our Car of the Year, a new Lucid. 500 mile battery, 500 miles on one charge, 520. And what that means is if you drive 10,000 miles a year, you'll have to charge it less than twice a month.
Yeah. I don't want to charge. I just want to. Yes. And is it a good-looking car?
Yeah. I like it. I
mean,
1
to 10 is like a hot car. Like
for a sedan, I think it's really good.
It's
like an eye catcher.
Yeah.
So. Especially in gold.
Especially at night. It looks like
I'll get you into Dream Edition.
Oh, you want the stealth mode.
I don't want any like fancy. I just want to pull up and then someone looks over and they go,
No.
Yeah,
way.
well, you're driving the right vehicle. You're driving. I mean,
Perfect.
That's it. Wow.
That's all I want.
All right.
Well, this
All right.
podcast is over.
This is great. This is great. No, because look, when we did, by the way, I could not have predicted any of these topics would have come up.
I'm literally shocked. But go ahead.
But when we talked and set this up, Sung, I wanted to get you here to talk about the inevitable, the future of automotive, the future. Yeah, is it EVs? Is it cheap cars? I actually wanted to talk to you about some of the stuff you are doing, that you have done. So the setup was, and you confirmed it, you actually have been into cars since you had a 93 Mazda FD RX-7. But after you were in several of the Fast movies, you did do your first serious project car in Fuguzi, the 1973 Datsun 240Z. You bought it on Craigslist. Mm-hmm. You built it up. It debuted at SEMA 2015, and you managed to win Best in Show, which is mind-blowing. And then also mind-blowing, as we talked about. That feels like yesterday, and all of a sudden that's like 7 years ago. Like that's wild. Yeah. So that was your first entree into this world of like tuning and.
Well, you can basically use that timeline to see where. It was the first time I actually had like time and money. Before that, it was just survival, man. Like, I think people are misled that, you're in one Fast movie and everything is like golden. No, man. It's like, I was hustling just to like, survive. So idea of like
they're not going to suddenly be generous.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
Like all right? Like, oh, hey, congrats.
Yeah, and it's a fantasy. It's like it's idealistic to go. Hey, I'm in the garage working on some FD with like all these cool parts and
right.
Dude, it just didn't work like that. Like right. That's a luxury. It's a blessing for anyone to be able to do that. Like that's why when I see young folks that have a pops or somebody in their family or a mentor that that allows that provides that, like, and they don't appreciate it, you think that's a fool, man, because I wish I had that growing up, but
right.
Like we never had that, like I didn't, we had a basic little like trash bag of tools, right? That you got at Kmart and stuff, but like Snap-on tools, like come on, get out of here, bro. Like somebody that really knew how to work on a car and wrench, and so that was not accessible to me. And then around that time was when, I was just on YouTube and just inspired by Magnus Walker's TED Talk. And I was like, who is this dude?
Interesting.
And I was like, oh, man, he's like using like a language that I actually can kind of understand, right? And I was like, I like this guy. And then it led me into this rabbit hole of his whole journey with the, the 911s. And I was like, I love what, he's doing because he's not really breaking it down into nuts and bolts. Like, he's not doing an engine rebuild. Like, I thought, at that time, I'm like, that's a foreign language to me. But
right, sure.
It was more about, this idea of community and also, expression, artistic expression, right? And it's like searching for certain answers. I was like, I like this guy, Magnus, right? And that gave me the courage to go, oh, well, let me try to dabble into
right.
car stuff. So I actually started looking for a 911 first. Go, let me just use him as a template. And then my wife, was like, let's talk about that. And I was like, I think it'd be like $65,000 this. And she's like, you're out of your mind. Here's $6,000 right? in the budget for you to do a whole car. So then my friend Mike Jen and Greg Huang, who had has a Porsche repair shop and House Automotive in Pasadena, we got together and said, ideally it'd be great to do a Porsche. We can't afford it. I can't do that. Let's come up with some other, platform. And then, my buddy Mike, like we met for coffee and he was coming to the gym and then a 240 drove by and he goes, hey, you ever see like a 240? And we just looked it up on the phone and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I was like, but I have no connection to that car. Like I didn't grow up around it. Like I don't know this car. I'm from Georgia. So,
right, I was saying, not big in Georgia. That was a big LA car.
Yeah, I said, I don't have any connection. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know why I would do this, right? And then I went home and I started looking up, the 240, and then it led me to Mr. Katayama and his whole story.
Right.
Sure.
Right. And there's actually this great book called Reckoning that even goes into, like, his whole kind of journey in America to bring,
philosophy.
you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I like this guy. This guy is actually, like, in a way, like, you know, a forefather of the Asian American journey here and how to be successful.
Right.
And so I was like, I like this dude. Like, I really, and I go, this is actually an Asian American car. Completely.
Oh yeah.
Right? And then I go, I can identify with this journey of this car post-war, stereotypes, all of these, but in its essence, you know, it's timely. It's going to have its day one day because it was built right for the right reasons, right, with the right ethos. And I was like, I can do that, but I have no idea how to build a car. I had no idea, man. Knew nothing. And then social media. This is where social media came in. I was looking online for, you know, different 240s, and there was this rendering of the Rocket Bunny body kit by Mirasan, and I just took a screen grab of it and I just put it on Instagram or something or Facebook and said, "Hey, anybody know where I could get this?" And then Mike from Gretty like saw that somehow, and he's like, "Hey, this is so and so from Gretty, and
we can get that.
We actually deal with Mirasan." And I was like, "Cool." And then I drove down there and met with Kenji and
Kenji Samino, long time now president of Gretty Performance Products. Great guy.
Right. And now we're like, you know, we're brothers now. But he basically was, I would say, my mentor in like, you know, kind of holding my hand into the, you know, the fundamental, like, you know, pragmatics of just building a car and building it the way he does, as I consider him a true artisan. You know, like that guy.
Dude, he's like the best. I mean, you picked a great mentor. So this is interesting because you touched on a lot of stuff, which I really dig. So there's a lot of authenticity here. You mentioned mentorship and how people who have that but maybe don't appreciate what they have, like, are fools. And I feel like you're trying to build this community yourself because it's something you didn't have, because if you are doing things now within the broader sort of automotive tuning community. You have We Are Student Drivers, right? That's a brand. It's a streetwear brand, but it's a little bit more than that. You're doing that with Daniel Wu
and Brendan McGrath. Yeah, that just happened at WR Technica. With our buddy Will. We were in his garage just hanging out, and somebody put a student driver magnet on my car because I am the worst driver.
This is the green and yellow, the JDM, arrow down.
But you know when you take driver's ed, you put they put the student driver magnet on.
Oh, well aware.
Yeah, so somebody put that on my car as a joke, and I was like, well played. And then Will walked by, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm a student driver too, because, you know, there's always something to learn." I was like, ding, 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 ding. And so thus Student Driver started with the ethos of, yeah, man, no matter how old you get or what you know, like, if you have this open mind of, like, let's be a student, right? It actually, you can become the teacher, actually, you know? And that's something that I was like, man, you know, people, I feel like if we all start, you know, with that in mind in any relationship, like, imagine what we can learn from each other.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Even if the mentor comes in as like, let me be a student of you, student, right? And it just changes the whole environment, and it doesn't become like inclusive or, you know, exclusive.
Right.
And, you know, I was like, I like this, and it's so familiar. It's kind of corny too, right? It's like goofy, right?
Well, and I think a component of it is reaching out to, I think you mentioned first generation drivers in particular, or people that just don't have any of this support or background.
Yeah, I mean, because the entry point into the car community, to go to like a car meet, like, if you don't have like a dope car, even if you want a dope car, like, where do you start?
Right.
So you go, I'm a Honda guy, so what do you go, like a Honda meet, and you sit there and you, like, how do you just show up, right? It's so hard, and I you know, I've been the dude that knew nobody, like, and you just show up with your hands in your pocket and you're like hoping somebody like takes you under their wing. And student drivers, the ethos is like, hey man, it's like, I don't care what you drive, what you know, come over here.
And there's more and more of that. Like, I saw you up at, I go to that Good Vibes Breakfast Club thing up at Newcomb's every Friday, and I saw you brought your 914. We're all Porsche guys here, or Porsche owners. I have a 914 that's in the shop, but like, you know, like, that's the kind of thing where it doesn't really matter what you bring, just show up.
That's right.
And I get a lot of DMs. People are like, hey, like, I don't have a really cool car. Can I come? And I'm like, of course. Like, yeah, please.
Bring your Sienna.
No, don't do that.
Yeah,
No,
right. Totally. Come on.
No.
That's what I
On
take.
that note, I would just probably wrap this up.
I took my Sienna to a Porsche meet.
Love
I remember
it. Why not?
Friends were like, "What are you driving up?" I go, "Sienna." They're like, "Okay, you could just meet us up." At
But anyways, I do think we actually have to wrap this up for
Oh,
time.
man.
Oh, so
I
short.
know.
So short,
Well,
man.
we'll
Like,
have
we
you
go-
back.
I feel
We're
like
gonna
this
have
was
you
like-
back.
I
This
know.
was like we're just
We barely
intro.
scratched. We barely
I know,
scratched the
I know.
surface.
I
We
know.
talk a lot.
I know.
Well,
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, hey,
I love
that's
it.
good.
That was an hour?
That's good.
No.
It was over. It was actually about 10 minutes longer than we thought we were going to go. So
Really?
yeah.
What do you guys
It's
go
good.
usually?
Well, seeing how this is the second one, we aim for 30, and we've gone over 40, so it was good.
That's too short.
You think so?
How do you do a podcast for 30 minutes? Like, yeah, it's like, hey, how are you? My name is so and so Ed,
Right.
Jonny,
Yeah.
Sung, and it's over.
Well,
How
you
do you
know,
get to-
it's
We're learning.
new.
We're learning. We know
We're learning.
you're an experienced podcaster. So
No, I'm
yes. Well, you have a podcast.
I do, but I'm learning too.
We're all students.
Yeah.
We're all student podcasters.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, well, we also do like a half hour before this. So
Well, I mean, when there's people that are, the thing about I feel with the podcast, like it's hit or miss, like flipping a coin, and when it works, dude, it's like it goes.
I know.
No, it's
and when
good.
it's bad, it's like, oh
Ooh, yeah.
gosh.
Then it's like cut.
Yeah, those are the tough ones though. Where after like 15 minutes, you're like, okay, so you can
were in
see.
a film called Better Luck Tomorrow. Yes.
Well, okay. Maybe last question then. Give you a little plug. Besides, you got to tell us the name of your podcast, but also what's the next film up? What's the next thing you're working on?
Next, I just wrapped up. I'm in post production for my first directorial debut.
Oh, no kidding.
It's a horror comedy called Shaky Shivers. And I call it like the female version of like Wayne's World meets Napoleon Dynamite meets American Werewolf in London.
Okay.
And-
I'm in.
Yeah, so it's about these
I've seen all three of those.
two junior college dropouts in Washington that work at an ice cream shop, and it's just a simple tale that, like, do you be kind to strangers that are begging for food when you want to go home, or are you an asshole and they might curse you to be a werewolf, and what happens? So, it's a movie about the evening with these two bumbling morons, right? But it's so fun, and it's a homage to all the practical effects that I grew up watching.
Oh, yeah.
From that
Good,
era, like
good,
the American Werewolf in
good. Oh,
London.
yeah.
Great.
So there's no
Good.
CG. It's like
Oh, that's
all
cool.
prosthetics
That's
from
great.
one of my friends in Hollywood. And,
I love that.
and then the writers, my friends that wrote it, and I said, "Why are you writing this film? Like, what's it about? Like, what's the theme? What's the whole point of it?" And they said, and one of them was like, "Well, I want to share my love affair for practical effects, but I don't want to scare my daughter, and I also want to empower her." And so, they wrote this film about these two girls, and it's about being comfortable in your skin and being proud of where you come from, even if it's a small town, even if you only have one friend. Like, who cares, man? Right?
When does this come out?
I'm in post now, so
Okay.
I'm doing color. So we just finished ADR, and I'm doing color. So I'll be wrapped up at the end of the month, and then hopefully hopefully it's on Netflix, man, because it's designed for like I would say 12 to 25-year-old demographic. And,
I mean, that's awesome. I love practical. I mean, I grew up, we're about
Yeah.
the same age. I grew up watching all the same stuff. Like, the one that pops into my head is The Thing.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
the greatest effects ever. And it's a little corny, but
Yeah.
it's so much better than, 50 billion computers flashing and beeping and all that. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah.
So, and name of your podcast.
Oh, so it's Sung's Garage right now,
Garage.
and it's like I said, it was my foray into seeing if there was a whole point in me even doing a podcast. So it's been on a little break. I'm restructuring it to make it to have accountability to actually do it like professionally, like you guys are doing. And I didn't know if I needed to talk, because there's enough of us out there asking questions. I didn't even know if I had a point of view of what am I bringing to the car community. But I think I do,
Yeah, definitely.
And it actually it had to come back to just being selfish and going, I have a lot of questions I have on a personal level. I want to know how to be a great husband. I don't have those answers, man. And if I can use a car guy that maybe is a great husband, that'd be dope to get both, right?
Sure.
Talk about the car stuff and then get that. So
Cover other things while you talk about this one item. Just like we did today. We covered a lot of topics.
Yeah.
we were mostly off topic.
So
we're going to need to have Sung back.
Oh, we were off.
Oh,
we were
soon.
on. We talked about the Sienna, the E, because it's hybrid.
Yes.
And Johnny, you will be converted.
No.
No. Come on, man.
No, see, that's the one thing. That's the one thing I love
your
about.
mind.
You can't be close-minded.
Hang on. That's here's the one thing I really love about my wife. If I came home with a minivan, she just started having an affair instantly.
Why?
She hates them.
Why?
She hates them. She hates SUVs, minivans.
There's a
She likes sports cars. She wants a 911.
Well, she can have that, but you can have both.
No, we don't need it. We don't
The
need
Sienna.
it. It's wasteful.
The Sienna is a automobile masterpiece.
It is.
Whoever I want to find the
No.
designer.
We will.
Who is
Kill
the-
him, Mike.
I
Kill
can-
his Mike.
I
Who
can-
is the
I
creator
can-
of the Sienna?
I
Who is
can
Mr. Sienna?
I can hook you up with that. We can.
I need to know.
We will get you. We will get you the folks at Toyota.
I mean, come on.
At Calty, they will. It's
Yeah.
designed for America.
He in a way, he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize because think about all the good he's done for the world.
Yes, I
And the
agree.
unity.
Look, and the fact that
The
it's-
unity.
I still think this is a spoof.
No, Johnny,
this is
you
You
will be converted, my friend.
you'll be converted.
I won't be.
Come
But maybe
on.
other people will be. Maybe
No.
other people will. No, I
Give us a chance.
No.
Please.
I have. I wrote that. I wrote the Ford minivan comparison test. Where I think we had Sienna last.
Yeah. Wow. We were
Over
we were
Ed's
doing so
dead
well.
body.
We were doing so well. But yeah, look, I want to thank Sung. We're gonna have you come in again.
Definitely.
And we're gonna talk more about community and the future
And the Sienna.
and the Sienna.
And I'll get my wife on your podcast. You can ask her what she thinks about a husband bringing home a minivan.
Right.
I will convert her. You don't want your wife to talk. When I talk to wives
no,
about
no,
like
shit,
minivan and why their husband like by the end I elevate you. I elevate you. You will be the king
I got
of
my
your
wife
castle.
an Alfa Romeo Giulia, and she's like, "Oh, it's so big."
That means nothing.
No. She's
That's
like,
no
"It's so big."
sacrifice. That's no sacrifice, Johnny. Basically, you were saying, "Here is my scrotum sacs, wife." Right?
Well, wait. Oh, the minivan.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
For
definitely.
you,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do
yeah.
this.
Wow. No,
Right?
well, she wouldn't appreciate it. She'd
Why
be
not?
like, she just
What?
Not my wife. Your wife, maybe. My wife likes the scrotum where it is.
Again, I said we were doing so well. Oh, this is so good. But I do want to thank you, Sung. for
Yeah, it was
coming in.
fun.
Very
It was super
generous.
fun. Thank
Like,
you.
This
Thanks,
is
guys.
hilarious, and we definitely want you back.
And one more got to do it. The next the last fast is it 10?
Well, he's
10.
10. There's 11 apparently. Wikipedia says there's another.
This is
one.
11.
I don't know about 11, but I know 10. We're gearing up, like next year to early next year.
And you
also-
haven't filmed it yet.
He's
No.
also the
Not yet.
rumor mill has him, or he's been. It's been announced. You've been cast in the Disney Plus Obi-Wan franchise.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. I mean,
That's actually, you got to come back for that because
Yeah.
I'm a horrible Star Wars. I don't want to say nerd, but like I just watch everything.
Me too.
It's
No, why not?
Yeah.
It's part of childhood.
Yeah.
So to be continued. Thank you, Sung.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you
It's been
so
awesome.
much.
All right. Cool.